And I think I'm live. I hope I'm live. Is this working? Hold on. Let me figure this out. That's what we want. We got to get the chat overlay going. Holy rough market, huh? NIO took a beating early and hasn't really recovered. Folks, welcome. My buddy Seth can't be here, so I'm holding a spot. I got the NIO gear in place, holding Seth's spot. I know it's not the same without Seth along for the live stream. But if you are able to hear and see me, let me know. And also tell me where you are located. I'm in the Midwest. I joke that I'm up the road from Warren Buffett because for those who don't know, I'm in Nebraska. And so, yeah, that's kind of my joke is that up the road from Warren. I've written him a letter, told him about NIO. He never responded and still hasn't bought. But Spotlight, welcome. What's up? Netherlands. Awesome. Welcome. It's a Friday night for you. And I don't know what we'll get. You know, it's a holiday weekend here in the US. And so I don't know what that means. I also was wondering if that had any implication on the market, if, you know, some funds maybe were not making moves or specifically making moves heading into the long weekend. It's hard to say. We also, of course, had the beginning of September. So it's just always kind of fascinating for me. I like to sit back and just try to watch and observe and study. It's all about learning for me. There's just, that's life, right? I mean, it's an opportunity to learn. So I'm all about it. What's up, Will? Welcome. This is Hi Brother family. Yeah, the NIO family. Absolutely. You know, the streams are fun. They're good. It's nice to be able to interact a little more. And really, it's one of the cool things is the global community for NIO is awesome. Sorry, I had to fix Seth's chair. Spotlight says, got to go back to work Monday again. Scooped up a few more shares of NIO today. Yeah, you know, I did too. I was like, what's that market? You want to make them cheaper? All right. So yeah, I'm with you. And I'm not sure, you know, like I said, what we'll see next week is going to be fascinating to see what the markets do, especially if we depending on how things close today, and you know them not being open on Monday. Frank, what's up? Welcome. Glad to see you. Hey, it's the artist formerly known as Gauntlet. Time to relax and focus. Hello, what's up? Let me see here. Samuel says things not looking good. You know, it just depends. It depends on the view. I think from a short-term lens standpoint, I actually mentioned this in my video the other day, that the earnings that are coming up this next week is maybe an opportunity for shorts or anybody who wants to get long the stock, seeing what's ahead to kind of push it down. And then at the same time, we had now some shutdowns happening in China. That's the one thing that I just you see the head shake. I'm not happy about that. It's just, that's tough. I don't care where you are. Doing that is really hard on everyone. But no, back to my point on earnings. We have sort of, I mean, let's face it, there's always some kind of FUD and fear mongering and that sort of thing in play that could be, put out there and used with regard to China and any company that's, operating, doing business in. That's kind of where we're at that time and place right now, where that's just what it is from kind of the U.S. or the West side. So then when you factor in the second quarter earnings, and they're not going to be, I mean, we have an idea what to expect for the most part. Deliveries are going to be okay. They're about the same as the first quarter. So there's nothing, massive coming in, but maybe they do, maybe they claim some credits, maybe they, I don't know. I'm real curious. And also NIO typically doesn't give guidance like a lot of folks at other companies do. So again, will they talk about that? Will that, play in? It's going to be interesting and fun. And I can't wait. I'm going to stream it. It'll be before market open here in the US, but I'm still going to stream it. Adrian says NIO price prediction in 3 years. Sheesh. I think it depends on, and the sad thing is it's the same issue that we've had all this year. My issue and concern has been the US market. And here's kind of the way I'm thinking is within 3 years, are people finally going to realize, especially if the US hasn't cleaned up our act, because we're really struggling. We're looking rough and bad right now. And we're not doing ourselves any favors. The people who are supposed to be leading are not. So that's a problem. If we don't get things sort of back in line, then we may have been the, mature superpower that was globally dominant, but China's just going to catch us faster. And so when people recognize that that is happening, I think that's also going to change the lens and the view, the optics on investing in Chinese-based companies, especially if, for example, we've been a few years into this agreement with, the regulators and the auditing is a non-issue and that sort of thing. It's something that I don't think happens overnight, but there again, that's kind of why, I came back from prison here in the US and I looked around and I said, and this was 2019, 2020. And I said, wow, what happened? I didn't recognize my country. And I still kind of don't. It's so divided. There's so much toxicity. That's the word I think that comes to mind, the toxic aspect of how just divided things are and people are. And that is not healthy. That is very unhealthy. And so back to your, 3-year price prediction. I think a lot of what is going to be happening with Chinese valued companies at that time will be relevant to this sort of thing and this, sort of the recognition by people as a, brand like NIO is going to be globally dominant and known by that time, I believe. And so that only helps. But that's sort of why I picked NIO as the long-term play. Was I didn't know what the time frame would be. And I didn't anticipate all the issues that we've had, from the geopolitical to the posturing to some of the, even on the fundamental side for NIO, I'd hoped that they would be doing the delivery numbers they're doing now last year. So, all right, I'm okay with giving it more time. That's fine. I've kind of built that in, but how much longer? I don't know. And so that's why it's hard for me to do even a price prediction for this year, because the US market is a much bigger mess and there are a lot more issues that need to be kind of worked out. And if they get worked out sooner, I think that helps everything globally. But I don't know. And I haven't decided yet, if we're going to get a political pump, for example, here in the US, I think that's an indicator that at least politicians are still sort of trying to not have the country just crumble. But it's a strange time here in the US. And so for those reasons, I just don't know. I don't know what to even predict for this year. And I'm already behind on comments, so let me get caught up here. Jeff, what's up? Neo San Francisco says next week will be interesting. Yes, earnings next week, Wednesday before the market open. I will definitely be streaming it. And Spotlight says interesting specific thing I'm looking for on the balance sheet is the inventory. It went from 267 million early 2021 to 422 million early 2022. Okay. I don't even know. I know they generally just show two streams. Like how do they show it? Like there's basically other revenue and then the vehicle revenues, I believe, are pretty much how they break it down. And they've got all these other interests and partnerships and things like that. And I just don't know. I wish because I am a nerd and I would get into it. I wish that I could see some of the books and the partnerships and some of the, they get a little more in depth than even what they share, because I could definitely get lost in it and would be curious to see what some of those things are going to shape up like and look like down the road. It's still so early with things like battery as a service. We still don't know if they're going to be doubling subscription numbers with delivery numbers doubling over the next year. Let's say that's a big shift, a big change. At some point, I think they will turn that into a profitable model. But I don't know what that is. I don't have any idea what those numbers look like. So I'm with you. I'm real curious how this earnings is going to go and what things are going to look like, what kind of money they'll still be holding on the books. And what else we got? Let's see if I'm getting caught up here. I think I am. Yeah, so David bought some XPEV. Believe they are at all-time lows. NIO position already too big. You got to do what works for you. And I don't know. I've not really been in the camp of XPeng, but it wasn't that I really had an issue with them. It was more just that I don't have a lot of funds in the first place, and so NIO was my intentional choice. And continues to be but that's sort of my individual situation. And so that does play a role in what I'm doing, obviously. So what else have we got? Spotlight says, with the backlog of cars, I'd expect the inventory of NIO rising a lot on the balance sheet due to shipments to Europe. Yeah, I'm really curious about that. I don't know. I've seen speculation on what they sent in those 3 ships worth of the ET7s, but I haven't seen actual numbers from the company yet. And I don't know if they'll tell us. I kind of don't expect them to tell us. Some people are really frustrated about that with the company, that the company isn't more open about that, more transparent. But I recognized early on that's just how they do things. And so that's where it is. And if it means that they're more focused on the business and the fundamentals and the growth and positioning for, dominance, I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. What else we got? Jeff says, it seems like we are setting this up faster than even China has imagined. Look at the CATL US delay, likely will not happen and will affect Ford and Tesla. It's funny you bring that up, Jeff. I saw that BYD stated something about they might wait to enter the US because of some of the things that the US is doing. And I thought, wow, it's so fascinating that NIO is actually positioned to where they would still benefit greatly from coming into the US. And now if some of these other companies are pushed off or put off from coming into the US, that would allow NIO to get even more of a foothold when they come here, which further validates my thinking that NIO is coming here sooner. And I'm talking about the US. I think they're going to be in the US sooner than people are expecting. I had thought before that 2024 is when they would try and get here. And I don't want to say 2023, but I want to say, let's wait and see what they talk about at NIO Day. Let's do that. It's just a few months off. It's not far. And let's see, because again, there's a big ramp up that needs to happen. So I don't want to get ahead of myself thinking too early. They need to get the delivery numbers up. They need to get out with the vehicles to the people. And so it feels like we're on the verge of that, but let's see it happen. And then we'll talk a little bit more. But I'm with you. I think there is definitely a play and an advantage for NIO to come to the US. And I think the stuff the US is doing, ironically, is going to affect China a lot less than what they're thinking. But the brands like NIO, who are positioned to dominate regardless, are going to benefit from it. I think that's my belief. So let's find out. Will Smith says ET5 will change everything. September onwards, got to be a great catalyst along with the NIO Park. I've been patient this long. Another year is all good for me. 3,157 shares. Let's go. I'm committed. So many headwinds, but helping my average price along the way. Yeah, it's crazy, the price action. For those who have actually dug into the company, who really have researched it. But that's a point that I think I got to make. I saw Neo Nanad on Twitter the other day. Shout out, Nanad, if you see this. But he had tweeted something about, there was an Investor Place article, I think it was, and they referenced NIO as a meme stock. And that reminded me of when NIO ran, and it ran crazy. I mean, in about 8 months, it went from $2.40 to $54. That wasn't even the high point, but it did run like that. And so I thought, wow, how interesting if some of the crowd involved in that, or some of the retail investors in the US really just see NIO or know it as a meme play and don't have any idea about the fundamentals. How interesting will it be when it comes out that NIO is a really great brand and has solid growing fundamentals and a global position that it can make and take it. I mean, it's hard to not be excited about it. That's me. Raman, what's up? Welcome. Says, I've been buying Yushin. That's UXIN as the ticker to add to my NIO. If William believes in Yushin, then I'm in. I like it. And I did. Their leaps are really cheap. Even I was able to buy one of those for what I do at January 24, I think, on that. Because even a guy with TLN, too little money, could afford one of those. So I jumped on. We'll see what happens. But I'm going to give him time. Again, it's a different market, and that gives time for it to be more recognized. And so again, it's a lot easier for me to look at things with that long-term view. It just kind of comes more naturally for me. Smoke and Dalberdoo 420, what's up? Welcome. Thank you. And yes, you're right. The worst YouTuber ever. I never ask people to like or subscribe, so please do it. I need my subs, viewers, supporters to mark it for me because I just don't. Spotlight says, is the NIO Day date known? I haven't seen an announcement. They did announce Hefei is where they're going to do it. The users voted on it, and that's where they chose. That's where I was hoping they would go. It's Hefei. That's where NIO Park is, and so it's kind of appropriate with that coming online and the positioning that it will have in China. And I think eventually it'll be known globally. But yeah. So yes. Jeff is on it. Has Yushin also? Will says not yet. Spotlight. He already answered comments. Y'all are on it. I should have known. When is NIO Park opening? Technically they're probably going because they've been shipping some ET5s, but they're not actually doing sales or deliveries rather until the end of September. So I don't know if they're actually going to do a global or some sort of a stream or announcement or anything like that. I haven't seen it. Last I was on their site was a day or two ago, and I didn't see anything posted, but I'll keep an eye on it. If I hear anything, see anything, I'll let y'all know. Roman says, NIO San Francisco, nice. Another one that is so undervalued. Jeff agrees, definitely a buy. Ramkey, what's up? I feel NIO management is too conservative with PR. No NIO Park opening news, ET5 shipping news, Germany rollout. For example, if they're planning to sell in Germany in quarter 4, when will they take pre-orders? Also, what stops them to take pre-orders in the USA? Feels like they do everything last minute. I think they are much more focused on rolling things out a certain way. And we'll take the USA comment and just go into that a little bit. For a couple of years, actually, even in 2020, William Lee had talked about the US, and what they want to do with each market as they enter is get familiar with it. When they came into Norway, they got shareholders together, or not just shareholders. They basically formed a group of people, including the locals, because they want to make sure that the user is the focus. And so the user being, obviously, if you're coming to the USA, that's Americans. So what do the Americans want? What are the consumers, the users, what are they going to want? They're trying to kind of tailor things based in part on where they're going. And so that obviously takes a lot of time and effort, but it's also something that just from early on, I recognize they don't hype stuff. They don't talk a lot. And so I was looking something up that actually has me pretty excited. The president at the Chengdu Auto Show for NIO said they think they're going to surpass or they expect rather to surpass the BMW Series 3 sedan sales next year with the ET5s within the next year. Monthly deliveries. Well, they've done almost 20,000. They did over 19,000. I'm talking about BMW with the Series 3 in one of the months of this year. So that tells me, based on how quiet and sort of, reserved NIO is, that they're confident and they're thinking numbers like that. They're thinking like the 20,000 plus number is probably where they're at for them to even speak on it. And so let's wait and watch it happen. But that also ties in, and I saw some people asking about this. I believe that NIO is going to focus with the first 300,000 capacity in NIO Park, primarily on the ET5. And so what does that mean for the rest of the models and the demand and that sort of thing? I don't know. And I'm not even sure if that's the case. That's a little bit my early speculative from the little bit I've seen, and I want to do a little more digging on it. But again, I think that might be a nod to, what they're trying to do. And perhaps that comes into play with, for example, your question, Ramke on having the ET5 get into Europe faster and then maybe get into the US. Let's see. There's so much that we don't know. There's so much happening. That it's kind of fun to speculate. It's a good time, I think, to speculate and talk about some of these things because a lot's going to happen fast. Asian Fish says bye. Yeah, I was not mad about the discount opportunity that was offered today, and I got a little bit. So let's go. I wish Seth and his mustache were here because that would be fun. We'd be cheering together. But what else we got? Jeff, let's run again. NIO run, NIO run. Yeah, you're right. And I am just watching. I'm waiting and watching. We had that early this morning. We had basically 10 million volume and it was all selling pressure. And so it was just pushed down right at the beginning. Again, the reference of meme stocks kind of came to mind because one of the shorts that's had a position, they got in November. And that's when things just started going downhill, really getting pushed down for NIO. And they're a massive player. And they also have been referenced a lot with regard to the AMC stuff. And so if they're viewing or maybe even handling things in a basket sense where they're shorting a bunch of things and shorting them hard, it's hard for us to know. We can't really track real time any of that data. And so the best thing we can do is periodically reference the fails to deliver. And that was one of the things that we saw was a massive fail to deliver. That kind of ran in that time frame where the NIO stock price absolutely took off. The fun thing is we've already been there, so I expect us to go there again. I don't know when, but I'm just sitting back watching for that big price spike with the volume really getting big. We haven't seen it yet. So James says, will NIO have a problem getting the NVIDIA chips? Marcel did a video on this, but also NVIDIA actually came out with their own announcement, or there's an article referencing this, that it was not an issue. And so let's wait and see. I wasn't particularly concerned about it other than from the standpoint of the US is doing so much posturing. And I'm of the mentality that if we would stop whining and crying and complaining and pointing fingers and actually just focus on being better on our own, then we could get a lot further, I think, as a country, as a people. And then maybe have less division, which again is a good thing, I think. So, I'm more frustrated on the US side because I see how weakened the US is, and I don't like that. I want my home country to do well. But I really hadn't been, and I'm not concerned about the chips for NIO. And if let's see, Wednesday is the earnings call. Maybe they'll get asked by one of the analysts on the call. That'd be interesting if they do. Jim says, thanks. Emiliano, what's up? Grease in the house. Says, hi, Aaron. Hi, NIO family. Martin is buying. I just added more NIO to my portfolio. Let's go. What's up, Jose? Boom, I got you, bud. And Ben also buying. We got people buying today. Not financial advice, ever. I could just say what I do, what I did. I also bought a little bit. Frank says, what do you think about deliveries for August? They were very disappointing. What's your opinion, Aaron? I had said the baseline number that I wanted to see was a 10,000 number. We got it. Someone in the comments, and I forget who, so correct me if you're in the chat today. I can't remember who had said this, but it was a really good observation. I'm watching for it. They said the third month of every quarter, NIO comes in with strong numbers. And it's almost like they hold back and then really make a push. But, we've also got to recognize NeoPark's coming online. They were doing ES7s. They delivered ES7s, which means they were producing and delivering in the last month or two. And the ET5s also being produced and getting prepped for delivery. So how does that look? Is that all coming out of NeoPark or not? And Marcel talked in a video. And I need to get Marcel on one of these. I need to reach out to him and try and set something up with him. Because Marcel's awesome. I've been a sub and a fan of his for a very long time, as long as I knew about NIO. But he was talking about it, and my understanding from what he said is that it looked like they were running all the models except the ET5. They were basically running all the other models through the 2 lines that they have at the existing plant. And if that's the case, then that might be part of our explanation on why we didn't see a bigger number, especially considering they were getting some of the ES7s and ET5s done and out, but not necessarily getting deliveries off of the ET5s yet, if that makes sense. Of course, ET5s would be coming out of the NIO Park, but again, we don't know if that's fully up yet. I presume it is. We'll see. Again, there's just so much going on. To step back and away from everything is for me to go, okay, last summer I was hoping we'd see 10,000 monthly deliveries. We never got 3 months in a row of that. We've now seen 3 months in a row of that. I think August will be the 4th. And then I think we see a bigger uptick from there, and we just kind of keep it moving from there. And even if there are shutdowns in China, I still think they'll be able to get delivery numbers up and out, provided they can do production, and production being more so through NIO Park and them having that set up to where they can operate sort of in a closed loop if necessary. I believe that they'll be very well positioned to do some of that. But, let's see. I don't like seeing the shutdowns again. And Chengdu is the only one that I know about recently. But, it's 20 million people there. It's a few people. The other thing is this. They just opened 3 more delivery centers. And I don't know what the numbers are on that, but I'm curious, what that enables them to do, for each one of those, and what kind of numbers they're able to get through there. What else we got? Roman says, I really believe that if that ET5 can ramp to 10,000 plus deliveries per month in the next 4 months, the share price could easily double by the end of the year. You know what? I'm going to pin that. I like that. That's a good topic point too. Let's talk about this. From a previous earnings, I do remember that execs told us that they expected to be delivering 10,000 ET5s monthly by the end of the year. All right. So let's say we just fast forward to the last month, to December, and they get 10,000 ET5s. All right. The question is, if that is all they're running through NIO Park, is that all they're going to do? Or will they have a bigger number coming through there? I think they'll have a bigger number coming through there. Or if they don't, if they can only get the 10,000 ET5s from NIO Park at that time or that month, then I do believe that would mean they would be using NIO Park for some of the other models, which would also be fine because then they would get more of those deliveries out. We've seen in June, which was the high month for NIO, they did over 5,000 ES6s and over 4,000 ET7s. We did not see, I don't believe we saw the 3,000 or 4,000, however many thousand that they couldn't get out in July. I don't think we saw those reflected to a large degree in the July deliveries. Did I say that right? Correct me if I said it wrong. But what I mean is this, the number for August. Yeah, the number for August wasn't a huge number of ET7s. And so again, remembering that they sent 3 ships worth of them off and out, and that there had been the previous month several thousand that didn't get delivered, we don't know when those are coming through. But what we do know is the month prior to that, June, we saw 4,000+ of the ET7s. We saw 5,000+ of the ES6s. And for that month, they were over 12,000 total. Now that's without NIO Park being online. So we know that they could do 12,000, 13,000 plus whatever they get from NIO Park once it's fully online. If it's doing another 10, then they should be over 20,000. If they have a 20 to 25,000 delivery month, even in that last month, December of the year, it's hard to imagine that we won't have seen by that point something happen with the stock price. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about another push down, but but yeah, I think that's a great point and valid. And as long as it's been beaten down and pushed down. And again, I do think it matters that there's a very key player who has had a short position, who has the influence and can make things happen to the negative side since November. That's a while for them to be doing their thing. So if at some point, for whatever reason, that selling pressure, negative pressure, shorting pressure leaves, that also could be a sort of unconventional catalyst for the stock price. I think we've got to at least address that and be aware of it. Will Smith says, I got a feeling that on NIO Day, we will finally get details on the sub-brand and maybe self-driving updates. Yeah, I think we will. We'll get at least one new model announcement. Maybe they'll announce a model. How are they going to do this? Because they're also doing a European NIO Day now too, which really, look, for let's dial it back for a second. Remember how quiet the execs are from NIO? This is one of the complaints people have, is that they don't talk about things. They don't share things. And so considering that now all of a sudden the president has recently said, we're going to be out delivering the BMW 3 Series, which is, roughly 20,000 monthly vehicles next year of the ET5, which they haven't even started delivering yet. And they've said, yeah, we're ready to do this. We're also going to do a Europe NIO Day, which they've never done before. And William Lee just went to the US and they just met and were seen in the area of what some are probably correctly predicting will be a NIO house. They're not setting that up to not sell vehicles and to not have a presence. So that, again, sort of is an affirmation for me that they're going to try and come to the US a little earlier. So, when do these things get priced in? I don't know. But I'm excited to find out, and you bet I'll be here. So, but I love that comment, Roman. That got us into an interesting spot. Will says, I got a feeling. No, we already talked about that. Self-driving updates. Yeah, I want to see the NIO autonomous drive. I'm hoping they do kind of like what Mobileye does. I don't know how many people pay attention to Mobileye. I need to do a video on that. I got a lot of videos that I need to catch up on. Trying to get my life together. It's rough. A lot going on. But yeah, I do need to do a video about that. NIO autonomous drive should be coming out. I expect it to be very impressive. I don't want to say if it'll be better than another companies or not. I just want to see it when it comes out. Jesper, what's up? Says, how much do you think NIO stock is undervalued? Even if NIO stock is $35 right now, I would still be happy to buy it at that price. I have that mentality where and part of it is that I have limited funds, and so I can't just buy the position I want. So I have already recognized I'm going to be buying it probably higher than a lot of other people would. But I'm also okay with that because, again, I'm seeing massive potential upside for the company, and I believe it translates to the stock price. I just don't know what the time frame for that is. I think if we're conservative, we kind of look at when NIO, becomes profitable and maybe give it more time after that, because that's one of the things that's going to deter shorts, and they're going to realize they don't want to mess with this company. They got caught that last time, and that's kind of why we saw the stock price shoot for NIO. And you can see sort of the proof in the fails to deliver during those months where the stock price shot. What's up, David? I see you. David's here. Now we can start. Little Dean TV, welcome. Thank you. Aaron, the king of NIO. Well, definitely the king of NIO nerds. Anyway, I'll take that. Too little money. I need it to stay low so I can carry on loading up. Yeah, I'm with you. I stay with TLM. It's I live with it. It's is it a burden and affliction? Yes, it is. TLM stands for too little money, for those who don't know. Asian Fish says, do you know when the expiration date is for those short positions held by Citadel? No, I don't. And they really, here's what gets tricky. I am not going to suggest that Citadel or any other company specifically would do anything illegal or nefarious or that's not right. But I will say that some companies do get caught breaking the law and doing things like creating naked shares and using those to actually they usually don't get in trouble for that part. They usually get in trouble for other things, but synthetic, basically creating fake shares and then using those made up out of thin air shares to depress or push the stock price down for certain stocks. And so with that kind of being the concept that some companies will take, and again, I'm not suggesting any company in particular is doing this. I'm just saying that it has been known to happen at times with different companies. One of the ways you can sort of track if this kind of gets caught is there's a number of days after which, if there aren't viable shares to be found, basically that shares have to be returned. And it's even crazy that we're talking about this. They're not even real shares in the first place, but hey, it's like a monetary system, right? Let's just create more value out of thin air and we'll call it value. And we wonder why things are propped up. So the idea is that the failure to delivers are just kind of one piece, one data point that I look at. And the last time I looked, NIO didn't have a ton of those showing up. However, NIO also hasn't been doing a lot of trade volume, which means it wouldn't take a lot to sort of help the price range or stay or do kind of what you want to do. The less money is involved in the stock trading daily, the easier it is for someone, with big money who wants to control it or determine, what direction they want to push it can push it. And I'm kind of watching, frankly, I think at some point between now and the end of the year, I think we'll see a push and an uptick in trade volume. And I think even if initially things go down, I think when we see the trade volume stay high and then the price start going up, I think that's going to be our indicator that more big money funds are getting involved in buying. Because initially they might short it to push the price down. Like let's say, for example, today, let's say a few of us are running big funds and we decide that NIO is going to be doing great deliveries by the end of the year. And so we want to take advantage of the price action and what we think, will be a stock price going up. But why not push it down a little more so we can get a better entry, right? Because a couple dollars off the stock price for us with our big money, we can make serious gains by the end of the year off that. So we push it down a little bit and then we take our position. By the time we're done with our position, we let it go and then it can move back up. That makes sense. That's kind of the concept as I see it. And I think we'll see that sometime between now and the end of the year. But I don't know when. So that's why I'm just kind of watching the trade volume with that in mind and kind of going, all right, this is going to be interesting to track and, see if there's a point at which, maybe they push it down after the earnings next week. I don't know. That seems to typically be a time where NIO stock goes down. So maybe that's what some of them will be looking at. I'm just curious, it's all a chance to learn and study. And if they give some of us another buying dip opportunity, I know some of us are going to take it. So yeah, there's no way to know on that and that's one of the problems, like dark pool activity. We don't get to see that. And even if we see it, we can't see who's doing what exactly. We just see that a move is made on a certain, stock or ticker at a certain price. And that's it. You still have to track and see what happens after that to see direction. So it's a hard thing to do. Probably that's part of the reason that more of them don't get in trouble for doing the naked shorting, because it's not necessarily that easy to just track it all. Emiliano says, my first long-term goal is $55. So is that where you want to see it, or like at the point at which you're done buying, or clarify for me? Cause I don't know. What else we got? Jasper says, when do you think NIO will turn to a profitable company? Mr. EQ William Lee told us that 2024 should be the year of profitability. I do think that they can do it sooner. I think he's not going to tell us if he thinks they can do it sooner, but I do think our indicator will be the delivery numbers, and we'll see when the margins come in line and really come up along with the delivery numbers really jumping up. I think we'll be able to see it in the quarterly reports that we're getting close. So I do think in 2023, we'll get a teaser and a hint of that, and possibly even, the first profitable quarter in 2023. That's kind of what I'm watching for. Trap Billy, what's up? Says, NIO, let's go. We're at $17. It's a steal. You're not wrong. I think a lot of us feel that way. Not financial advice ever. No kind of well, I could give like basketball shooting advice. I feel like if somebody needs that, we can talk about that. A little hoop in action. Let's go. That's what I'll do on Saturday and Sunday mornings. Those are my mornings where I get up and I go as soon as the gym opens. I go because there's nobody else there. I get the whole gym to myself, and I can do my drills and get in there, and it's good. It's a good time. Love it. Frank says, "Hey Aaron, where do you see NIO closing at the end of the year?" You know, I think there's a wide range for the stock price where we could see it, and that's one of the reasons I've been so reluctant and hesitant to give a price. I think what I might do is, and I joked about waiting until the last day of the year to give a stock price for the end of the year, but I think I want to wait, and there are two things that I'm really watching. One is with NIO specifically. I want to see what happens next week. Next week with the quarter results, earnings. I think it might be the great last chance for shorts or anybody who really wants to push the stock price down or buy it cheaper, get long the stock. That would maybe be their last really good chance because NIO Park won't be online yet. Those deliveries won't have come in. And so then I think it's going to be a very different story. And it'll be more obvious. It'll be harder for them to hide and cover that stuff. So I think this week will tell us, this next week, upcoming week, will tell us something with regard to NIO. With regard to the U.S. market, which is my bigger concern and has been all year, I don't think that we are done. And my guy who has compiled the most data of anyone that I have found is he runs BAM. It's BAM Investor, Jim Savoldi, and he actually published a video. It's on YouTube. So hit me up, drop me. I'll do this for anybody who wants. Oops. Game Changer Proton. Mail.com. That's my email. Anybody who wants to can hit me up there, and I'll get you the link to that video. He published a video, and he basically said October is one of the worst time frames zone-wise, is kind of how he categorizes it, meaning October looks bad, really bearish for the markets. And he had been projecting the markets to be rough over this last year and even into the next couple. But for him to be like, yeah, it's a bad time coming up is the way it looks. He's forecasting that. And what's real crazy about that is we should have a political pump going. We got midterms in November, but like I said, the U.S. is a mess. And so I just don't know what to think. If we have a bad October in the stock market, I'm hoping BAM will get more positive about things. Like maybe we bottom and then maybe things improve. If we don't, or if they push that out, then I just don't know. It'll be harder for me to come up with a good guess for the stock price if we've got the backdrop of the U.S. weak, just funky market that we've had. So that's kind of my long-winded response. It's a good thing about a live stream is I can go off on tangents, right? You guys just sit back and laugh or whatever. It's all good. Let's see. Smoking, are you out of here? It says, have a great weekend, everybody. Tired to get a cold beer. Good luck. Enjoy. Thanks for stopping by. Samuel says, NIO in the red is the new normal. Laugh out loud. I mean, yeah, it's been, you can't, if you look at that time frame, really starting in November of 21 until now with NIO, there's a decisive, very clear, like there's been a negative pressure on the stock. And that is when Citadel took its short position. At least that's the first time I was aware of it. And they're no small fry. They can do things. And they have been suggested to have been very nefarious. Let's put it that way. I'm not suggesting that because I wouldn't suggest that. I just am watching. And if you look at that, it's very fascinating to see what NIO's done. Okay. Emiliano says at 55, I would consider selling. Okay. And see, I'm looking more long-term hold, but that's me. And look, like I love when investors have a plan, whatever it is, you got to do what works for you. That's what matters. So that's cool. I'm glad you have, clarity on where you want to be. And here, good news is it's already traded there. So bonus. Tony says, hi, Aaron. What's up, Tony? Still on that NIO train with you. My seatbelt is on. Let's go. Hey, listen, it's been a rocky ride. It's good to have the seatbelts on lately. It's been crazy. What else we got? Domenico, what's up? I just fought with my brother about NIO. He told me I've been dreaming for more than 1 year. I just told him I bought more. Have a good night, guys. And Forza NIO. Thanks, Domenico. Here's a fun fact for you. I think, and I'm going to try and guesstimate all this. I think it was 2006 roughly when a guy by the name of Warren Buffett, you might know him. He and his partner, Charlie Munger, I believe they bought some of a company that's based in China called BYD or BYDDY. Those are the tickers that it trades under. And I believe they paid or invested 343 million or so. And it has been worth as much as 7 billion, but that's with a B, just to be clear. Now, it was a 15-year hold and wait, but isn't it interesting to get those kinds of gains if you're willing to wait and you position yourself and buy the right company? And yeah, it was a Chinese-based company. Huh, who would have thought, right? Now, they have popped up in the news for selling some shares, but I think they've still maintained 18% or more. So my guess is they had a really nice cash out off of that. And now whatever they've left, it's all free money. So that's kind of fun and cool, right? Like long-term investing. Who would have thought, right? But that's kind of the way I look at it, is more of a longer term. And I just try and position right in when opportunities like this price actually come. I want to do what I can to try and add, that's all I can do. You know what I mean? Jose says with high regulations and high taxes, it ain't happening. Talking about which one? What was the reference, Jose? What did I miss? About the high regulations, high taxes. Is it the U.S. struggling? Because yes, I see more of that. And that's why I picked NIO. Because I see the U.S. as being more problematic before we get things in line. That's why I picked NIO as the bullish market. Okay. Yep. Yeah. And that's why I'm nervous about the market. That's been my biggest concern for NIO. Is not NIO, but the market. It's trashy and crashy, like I called it the other night. Domenico says, I believe 13,000 next month. Also, NIO Germany will fight with big boys like Mercedes and BMWs. I think you're right on both counts. I think we get that record. I think we see at least 13,000 in August, and that sets up for a nice September and on. And yeah, the ET7s, I want to see how they sell in Germany. That's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. Jose, thank you. Shishi, I appreciate it. That's awesome. Great dinner. How about I put them towards NIO? That's what I want to do. Get some NIO shares. I'll give me a few shares right now. Let's go. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's just cool that I get to do this and have this support. And then that people are willing to do things like that, to offer something like that, whether for dinner or more NIO shares. Appreciate it. Thank you. Roman says, the longer I'm invested in NIO and see what an amazing company this is, the happier I am that my money is not in Tesla anymore. I once had over 100 shares of Tesla, but I just can't stand Mr. Overhype. And it's funny. I come off, I think sometimes as negative toward Tesla and negative toward Mr. Overhype, but it's not that. I mean, dude became the world's richest guy in part because he's Mr. Overhype, well played. And Tesla as a company, if you bought right, wow, awesome. For me, I was way too late. And I don't like the price point unless I'm trading it to turn a quick profit and turn into more NIO bucks. So, but that's just me. And that doesn't mean it's not a great play for others. So I agree with you, Roman, but I also understand why some people, won't. And I really like when we get the people who invested in Tesla early, who also see NIO as really a game-changing company. That's exciting and fun because, they got to see Tesla do it. And I wasn't here for that. So it's fun. It's cool. David says, started selling covered calls on NIO again, only making around 8 cents a share for expirations 2 months out, but pretty safe. Yeah, that's awesome. I suppose I haven't looked at doing those in a while. But yeah, price action has just been tough. So, but yeah, I know, and we get people through here regularly who definitely go hard with those too. So it's cool. It's cool to be able to do it. Some places I don't think they can. U11, what's up? We'll be DCA every week by selling call options until I retire. Yep. Yeah, people with an investment strategy. I like it. Yes, Jose, agreed. Bullish market indeed. Thanks for clarifying and for the support. Jasper says, do you see China and Taiwan war problem for NIO if it happens? I don't think it's, I think, how can I say, one of the people I follow on Twitter is more active and more familiar with the culture in China. And her sort of comments about the concept overall of the US and China and the whole news narratives and how they go is, she said, basically, they blow it out of proportion on both sides. And so it's not as bad as they try and make it sound. And it's probably not as great as they make it sound, whoever on whatever side. And I think that is probably about right on. I was nervous about Pelosi going over to Taiwan and causing trouble. Glad that China was smart about the way they handled that. And I don't think that there will be an issue between China and Taiwan. I think some in the US, sadly, might want to see that. I just want people to be friends. Everybody should just be friends. That's what I think. So no, I'm not tripping on it. I'll keep an eye on it. But Cyrus Jansen is another good place. He's got a channel, and he's an American. He lived in China for at least a decade. He's back now in the US, and he does live streams, I think, every Saturday morning. But he'll talk with people who are familiar with China. He's, of course, been there and can explain and break down things that from a fairly neutral perspective. And that's really hard. It's really hard to find that. That's tough in this day and age. So that's one of the reasons I value him and check his content out when I can, or when I, feel like I want to check up on something like the, China, Taiwan thing. Let's see what he's talking about and his people. So, whoever he's got on there as guests, Jose cracking up. Yeah, that was awesome. Very, very generous. And Asian Fish says, damn, Jose, hook that up. Yeah, did it too, for sure. Appreciate y'all. GLO, good looking out. That's one of the things, Seth and I talk about it. We talk on stream about it too, but we talk about how cool and fun the community is, and how it'll be a good time down the road when, maybe we do our own kind of meetup. NIO investors globally, we get a property somewhere. And eventually I want to get back into real estate anyway. So I've already been looking. And fun fact, lenders, one of my contacts who works with a lot of lenders, said here in the US, they are already asking for another 10 to 15% down. So the LTV numbers are getting beaten down. And when you factor that in, it means as a buyer, as an investor, whatever, you've got to come in with a lot more money down. And the cost of the money that you're borrowing is also going up. Thanks, Fed. That's a problem. And that is, I'm much more concerned with the US than I am China. China needs to stop with the shutdowns, I think, call it like I see it. That's probably the worst thing they can have going on. But they're in a better place. They're talking about their inflation might go up to 3%. Where was 3% for us? It feels like it's been a while. I don't know if it's been like that since I got out. Anyway, sorry, I'm off track now. Jose says, we're in a pickle. The Fed's attacking inflation, which needs to be fixed, but sacrificing the entire capital markets. Yeah, it's a problem. It's a real problem. We need a pragmatic approach when it comes to negotiating a fair trade deal with the US and China that benefits both countries. Yeah, the countries are already working together. And I mean, what I mean by that is they're reliant on each other in a lot of ways. And look, I don't mind if people want to be of the mindset that, as the US, we should just be able to be self-sufficient. Okay, then let's be self-sufficient and stop with all this political BS that really comes in and just causes problems. And then you got the Fed, causing inflation, talking about, they want to bring inflation down, and they're just going to make it uncomfortable for, more pain ahead for most of us, right? That's what Powell said. And I love that when I looked him up, it shows his net worth as somewhere between 25 and 60 million. That's kind of a wide range, but even if it's on the low end, I can see why he's not worried about a little discomfort to the rest of us, right? Like, let's just call it what it is. I'm kind of on one today. Ooh, feisty. I just want to see my country doing better, you know? Love my country. I want us to be better. Trap Billy says we're going to see more than 10,000 vehicles from here on out. Agreed. That was, I would have been happy with a new record this past week for the last month. But I kind of said baseline is I want to see 10,000, you know, and really it was the 1 month where I wasn't sure. I'm very confident that we'll get the 10,000 number. I think they would have to have widespread shutdowns in China for August to not come in with 10,000 plus. So I think we'll get it for sure. I do think they'll make a push and try and come in with a new record because I do like that. You know, whoever it was who pointed that out said, you know, the last month of every quarter, they really have an uptick on deliveries. And I said, oh, okay, I like that. But even the Deutsche Bank guidance suggested 10,000 per month for this quarter. So yeah, I think we're golden on that. And then we see then we get to see if NIO Park is just going to start flexing immediately or what that's going to look like. And yeah, Jose, that's it. I mean, it was the strangest thing for me coming back from those years in prison when the internet really globally took off. I call it the globalization of technology because everything was a lot different tech-wise when I came back. And then I was just kind of like, wait, this stuff is kind of crazy out here. And there was an obvious lack of freedom in some regards, like even in the way you say things. I accidentally made videos a couple times where I used verbiage that I didn't know I wasn't supposed to use. And so I got dinged for that. And I still don't know if there was an actual like shadow ban that went on. So I'm not even sure I understand what that is. But I might do a tester on that. I want to do a tester video and see what happens with that anyway. So fun fact, be looking for that. But because I'm kind of like this, I'm curious about stuff and I want to understand what's going on in my country a little bit better because I've been gone and it's crazy and I still don't recognize some things. So I'll do a video and I'll check it out and then I'll see what happens with it. And but man, I want us to do better, be better, you know? And we got the close of the market going on and I don't even know what's going on. Hold on. Oh, that reminds me. I forgot I had pulled up and now I can't see it. I don't know if anybody saw and voted on the poll that I did the other day on Twitter. I did a Twitter poll and there were 85 votes, which tells me we need more voters. But the options were biggest concern for NIO stock. Is it, what did I say? A, the U.S. stock market. Wait, how did I do it? I said the U.S. stock market, shorts, that Jim Cramer will get bullish the stock, or other. And it was like a split 50-50, 50% for the U.S. market weakness and 50% for shorts and manipulation. And then to a lesser degree, people were concerned about Jim Cramer getting bullish. But market is closed. How did we finish? How did we do, guys? Talk to me because I haven't looked. I'm fully present right now with my water and you guys. Thanks, by the way, everybody, for being here. It's fun. It's fun Friday. Anyone? Nothing? 1773, 1777. So it's probably moving a little bit after hours. What would be really funny is if it started shooting up after hours. If we saw that and some big trade volume, I'd be like, ooh, that's big money. That's big money. And there will be a day, I believe, in the future when we'll see it. So I don't expect it today necessarily, but I do think we'll see it. Wow. Is it going to stay this cheap? I wonder what options chains look like if there was an advantage for a lot of people being wiped out on their options or something. And maybe, isn't it interesting that, you know, the more I study the market, the more I'm thinking, all right, what's the big money got going on? What's their play? What are they doing behind the scenes? You know, how are they manipulating legally or illegally whatever's going on? It's just interesting. But it also, from a business lens and standpoint, for the most part, they can break the law and then get caught and just pay fines. And it still, makes financial sense for them to do it to an extent if they don't care about having to pay fines. And so I guess maybe that's why some of them just keep doing it. It's wild. It's wild to me, but I'm a crazy guy. So 1774. Yeah. So we've got probably maybe a little movement after hours, but under 18. Wow. And next week is really kind of I won't say pivotal, but I'll say it's really like the best. So the window is closing, I guess, is the way I want to say it. The window is closing for shorts or people who really want to cause problems, hate on, push down the stock. Trap Billy making the call. He's predicting it's going up. 17 is too low. It'll go up after hours. It might. It very well could. Asian Fish said they'd rather pay the fine and make billions. Yeah, I mean, it's just like they can put it into their business model almost. You know what I mean? Jose asking, am I starting to get my feet wet in crypto? The big reason that I didn't get into crypto was the lack of regulation and my history, my personal criminal history. I didn't want to give somebody an excuse to come after me on the regulation side. And so I figured if I just didn't mess with it, it wasn't a big deal. Now, what I have done is I've done a little trading, a little scalping of like Mara and Riot and those that sort of, and there's a whole method to my madness, but I've done a little scalping with them, and I wouldn't mind, if I got some of that to hold long term. But for the most part, what I'm trying to do until I get my position, my 2,000 shares in NIO, that's the goal. I'm just focused on trying to get to that, and eventually I'll get to that, and then I'll kind of step back and look at everything. All right, what's next? What do I want to go after next? So usually when I'm scalping or doing little things here and there, it's to try and create more NIO bucks, as I call them. But it's not that I have an issue with crypto. I think there are definitely some plays. I also haven't gotten deep in it. I think XRP has really interesting value and can really be positive use. I'm kind of watching what's going on with the Bitcoin price action and the news narratives and cycles, along with Ethereum, and I kind of passively just kind of watch, what other people are doing. I've got some good contacts who are more in that game, in that arena. So I would probably talk to them, and I might end up looking into it more. But we'll see. Domenico says, I'm ready to go down. $14 next week happens in May. So it may happen next week. It could. It absolutely could. I think some people were talking 15 as a level to watch, but I don't know. Asia Fish says, normal people break the law, we go to jail. And actually, I tried to say that I didn't do what they said I did. Not that it matters. When it's a federal criminal charge, it doesn't matter. You're dumb to fight. And I didn't know that. They taught me. The federal criminal system is just that. Yeah. I don't use the word justice with that system because what I saw and lived, it's not justice is not a part of this system. But that's federal. Federal is it's a very different animal than the state also. Very, very different. Most of the new cryptos actually now have real world business utility. And yeah, that's kind of the XRP is kind of that, one that I would say it really has some upside. I think not financial wise, but Asian Fish asking Jose, how do you feel about the use case for XRP? Made 1,000x in 2021 bull run. I have 16 times XRP. Nice. 16,000. Let's go. Good move. Jasmine is one I was curious about too. Jasmine and that KOA is kind of interesting too. Douglas says, any news on how many shares were transferred to Hong Kong? Doesn't seem like New York Stock Exchange share count has changed. No, I don't know. And I don't know if they would show that in their filings somewhere. I'll try to remember if I look at Moomoo, I'll try and look and see if there's something that stands out. and get back to you, Douglas. But I don't know. I don't know off the top. Jose says lots of utility KOA. yeah. I'm watching. I'm not. I sit back and observe and study and research. That's kind of my thing. And then you get a lot more interaction when I'm on these live streams, because then we can, chat and dialogue and kind of go back and forth a little more. But and also I try to really stay focused. Like, for example, even with NIO and the channel, and I do my best to avoid the politics and that sort of thing. It's not that I don't have opinions. It's just that I try to really stay in the business lens and that, sort of the economic play. And so, for example, others may track or research with the idea that, oh, I'm looking down this political lane, and I'm not more like, no, where's the money going? And generally it's going to lead off and connect with politics at some point, but I'm more focused on the money itself and tracking that from the research, that business lens standpoint. Do your own research and due diligence always. Yeah. And look, it's the way I look at investing is kind of, it's like there's two elements. Like the first one is there's risk, just like life. There's always risk, right? You can't eliminate it. You can minimize it. And to an extent, each person has to minimize to the extent that it makes sense with their risk assessment and tolerance and levels. The other part of it is what kind of gains are you looking to make, and then you've got to sort of go, okay, how do I minimize, but also get the gains structured that I want to make, and that's why I'm always kind of like, I'm just happy when I see investors doing whatever makes sense for them, that they have a plan. I'm just happy to see that, it's important. And you could get 10 people lined up and every one of them might have a different risk tolerance, a different, approach to investing, a different mentality, a different goal for what they want to make on the return side, different, amount that they want to minimize or mitigate the risk. It's different for everybody. Jose says we got to get rich. Let's go. Kevin says, Aaron, we've been taking a hit this week. Yeah, I've been talking about it. Next week, let's see what happens. That earnings is going to be the window's closing, I think, though, for I really believe the window's closing on the shorts. Anybody who wants to push this thing down, it's going to be hard for them to argue with those increasing delivery numbers and that ET5 rollout. At some point, if the big funds aren't paying attention, they're going to have to. And I mean that in two respects. First, if they're shorting, they're going to have to recognize they're about to get burnt. At some point, they're going to get caught. And it's happened before. We saw the run that NIO had back in 2020. And so if shorts aren't careful, they could get caught again like that. But the other side of that is the ones who want to get long and see the growth that NIO's got basically positioned ahead of them. They're going to have a chance to make some serious money. So Jose says to have the freedom to move if you want. Yeah. Wealth and riches and that certainly helps to have that, that freedom. Of course, I have a unique perspective on that, having been locked up and, having to sort of try to find a way to be positive and stay positive in a pretty crappy situation. And then to try to, meet, network with, and find like-minded people, who are good souls, who, are willing to work and try and do the right thing. And those are some of my convict buddies. So, and I still talk to some of them. So, and when I hear what some of them are doing, working hard and doing, I'm proud, it's good for them. It's the warehousing business, the warehousing business of people is a big business in the US. A lot of people get locked up, and no one's perfect. So, but it was a unique experience to go through that and meet some cool people. Lex says, hopefully it all gets better. Yeah. I think, the short-term stuff, especially with NIO not being a profitable company, especially with the backdrop of this trashy, crashy US stock market, the long-term seems to make more sense than ever for me. So, but that's me. Asian Fish says, here's a question for most NIO shareholders. How much are you willing to wager in order to achieve financial freedom? Ooh, okay. There's one way to look at it. There's perspective for you. Trap Billy says all of it. Asian Fish says, Trap Billy, good call. I put 90% of my savings in NIO. And yeah, we had somebody on the other night who had a massive position, whole net worth in NIO, he said. So, but again, it's got to make sense for each investor. And, and like, here's the thing. If I've got a wife, then it's not just about me. It's about, what we believe and want to do, and her risk tolerance, not just mine. I don't have a wife, so I don't have to worry about that. But just an example. Jose says, hey, man, we're going to be all right. Stay positive, everyone. Yeah, that's it. That's it. And that's one thing you'll keep getting from me, the big old smile. Let's go. I'll keep bringing that. Trap Billy says, laugh out loud. Yeah, I'm deep in it. Jose with 8,000 shares. Let's go. Asian Fish, 7 years of saving for me. Jose says long-term. Yeah, 2030. That's it. That's long-term. Again, those numbers, Warren Buffett bought, they bought BYD in like 2006, 15, 16 years later. Wow. What returns? I mean, man, but that's long-term, really, and I see it all the time, and I get it. People want the quick return, and they want to see the portfolio up, and so they get bummed out when it's not. That's the psychological kind of the gamesmanship, I think, of the markets. But that long-term vision, really long-term, is years. For me anyway, it's definitely years. Trap Billy says, yeah, long-term, we're going to do great. Yeah, it's a very exciting time. Stock price action aside, like for me, that's just an opportunity when I can add. Just the one question, NIO fundamentals, are they getting better? Absolutely. Unequivocally is what I was trying to say. Trap Billy says, I like NIO because it has other options than just making cars. Yeah, the brand, they've never had a brand like this in China. And there's a value play there that we can't really put a price tag on, because some people are going to buy it because they're proud of the brand, and that loyalty, but also the way that the brand focuses on the user. Like that's the recurring theme, is they want to take care of the user. Users will pay. I will pay a premium for that. And I don't have big money, but I'll pay if I'm going to get that kind of service and those products. And I think that's going to be the case all over the world. Asian Fish says, I believe in the CEO. He's an amazing guy. Yeah, I'm more bullish on him than anything else. Probably, if there was just one factor that I would say is what I'm bullish on. And specifically, it really blew me away when I saw what he did from NIO being at that point where they were about to get, possibly people were saying they were going to go bankrupt, but, he had put his own money in. He was a billionaire. And then he went to the government. They made a deal. And then he turned around and diluted and paid the government the majority of their stake out of it. So, it was a brilliant play. And then less than a year later, we had NIO Park being announced. And now here we are. And they're about to, it's incredible. It's amazing what he was able to do with just that one partnership and out of a problem situation, which, by the way, that was when the stock price was getting beat down. And then because he worked that deal over those next months, the failure to delivers spiked because a lot of those potential naked shorts got caught. And we saw NIO stock price go from $2.40 to $54. It pulled back and then went into the 60s before eventually coming back down to earth. But fundamentally, the company is just at a whole different, and that's what's fun and exciting. NIO design looks so much better than the competition. Yeah, they're really such an early mover in that premium space over there in the NEVs. Ooh. JWK says, what about Li Auto crying? Li Auto, again, it's like XPEV, XPENG. I know they get a lot of comparison to NIO. I've never considered the brands or the companies to be comparable. I've considered them all different in their own ways. And, the margins for Li were really good. I didn't know how they would adopt. Also, there's a lot of competition coming in China. And so not having clarity and positioning like NIO does with the premium segment as sort of their bread and butter. I mean, you got to figure Li Xiaopeng, they're definitely competing with Tesla. They're definitely competing with BYD. And both of those companies are putting out a lot of vehicles. That is tough. That's tough to come in as a new player trying to compete with those existing players who have a big piece of that segment. NIO with unique positioning. One of the reasons I liked him. Asian fish. I would give my left to buy it when it was at $2. Yeah, David bought it too, right? So yeah, that's outstanding. That's so cool. But you know what? Here's the other thing. That was at a point when NIO, they didn't know if NIO was going to make it. So again, that's where that risk tolerance comes into play, right? And that's one of the reasons the price is where it was. I think that, one day, I hope one day, knock on wood, that we'll look back and we'll laugh about this price range and time frame. That would be fun, because again, at that time there was no clear direction on, NIO didn't have the support from the government in providing part of the grid with the infrastructure, the battery swap stations. They didn't have that yet at that time when Dave bought. That was announced later, I think, that year. And then they didn't know if they were going to be able to stay in business. They certainly weren't doing deliveries like they have. They didn't have anything on the table with regard to NIO Park or partnership with the major players. A lot of that came later in 2020. They had some good partnerships earlier than that, but yeah, that's bold. Asian Fish says, I would have 100,000 of NIO. Yeah. David had, the big basketballs. David says, at the time, I had BABA, and luckily I sold it all for 180 per share. If I had not made that move, I'd be in a world of pain. And that's not to fearmonger or anything like that, with a higher valued stock, but this is a dangerous stock market, and something that cap value, everything kind of goes out the window with potential drops like what we could have across the market. And so the higher valued ones, how further they could potentially fall, and maybe they shouldn't, but guess what? You got big money behind the scenes doing a lot of stuff, and some of that stuff is legit, some of it's not. There was a big thing that came into play this week that we haven't even seen really. There will be sort of some maybe waves coming off of it, and it's going to take a little time for us to see how that shakes out. But the bottom line is some companies might not have access to the funds and the margin that they could have before, and that could really change market dynamics. So yeah, it's a crazy time in the market for sure. Lex says, I just don't know if this is making it. I hope they come to America and we see more profit. That would be awesome. The products are great and they're doing cool things, but we still need that push. Yeah, it's still, it's really, and I mentioned early in the stream about some folks are still talking about NIO as maybe a meme stock. And look, if it's got that view, then it's going to take profitability probably for some people, or an entry into the US with the vehicles before people go, wait, this is a really cool brand. They've got really nice stuff. The NIO app isn't available here yet. Can't get NIO Life stuff yet. It'll be cool and fun to get to that point. David have babies. That's funny. Trav Billy, NIO's going to shine when the power goes out. After a storm, then people will be like, oh, I see. Yeah, it's crazy. My buddy Nick over in Chengdu was doing the reverse power swap over there when they were without power or when the grid was down and they were having issues and stuff like that. He was able to help other people out. It's really cool that they could do that. Jose says, battery replacement is a turnoff for me to own an EV. They come to the US and that's a game over. And I've said it from the beginning, the battery swap and the way that all works is possibly going to be different in the US versus Europe and China. And I don't expect it to necessarily be the same, but there is a play And some of the things, they've talked about, the battery swap stations are like a little mini power plant. And it's pretty cool what they're able to do with them. So look, China is going to all NEVs. They're going to be using the grid and repurposing the grid. NIO has partnerships with Sinopec and State Grid to do that. And State Grid, one of their things is the solar also. So it's going to be cool to see how that all works. Maybe some of it translates, maybe all of it translates in some different areas, but I don't expect it to be the same adoption and level of adoption here in the US, for example. I think it's important that the US maintain some of its independent that's kind of what's made us the US, right? Freedom, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So, I think the Shell is a real interesting partnership to see what they can do in Europe, especially. Because again, I'm watching indicators. I want to see, all right, it's over here. China, they're signed off on. What does Europe do? How does that go? And then, what comes over here to the US? What translates, But I missed here. Let's see. Battery replacement. Yeah. Then buy a Tesla and pay $25,000 for a new battery. Yeah. And that's the thing. Tesla's, now that I have the NIO and the concept of the battery swapping and the products and services that NIO provide, the Tesla would have no interest for me. But that's me personally. Fish says, I'm going to get a personal license plate, NIO ET5 and NIO ET7. Let's go. I think you meant 7. David says, Jose, why would battery replacement be a turnoff to you? Says too expensive. NIO makes the most sense paying a monthly battery service. Yeah. So the battery as a service. Yeah, that option is it's beautiful. And we're seeing in Europe heavy adoption with the battery as a service. Again, maybe an indicator of what we see when they come over to the US. Just a great option to have. Again, it's about the user. NIO focuses on the user, and that's so cool. Lex says, I admire you, Aaron. You're personally strong and passionate, inspirational. Thank you. I was well raised. I got a picture behind me, my folks. They absolutely led by example. And I was like the prodigal son, the lost sheep, if you're familiar with those stories from the Bible. Yes, that's me. Just blessings. I got a lot of work ahead of me. Got to keep pushing. So, but I'm happy to be here. Happy to have a platform and be able to kind of bring some of that positive vibe and upbeat, attitude. And having been through some stuff, life's hard. Life is hard. That's real talk. That's what it is. So, but when it gets hard, what are you going to do? How are you going to react? You're going to get up. How many times are you going to get up? You get knocked down. So, and that's, again, one of the things I saw with NIO when Mr. EQ and William Lee, when they were having those problems, and the way he turned all that into a positive, I was like, okay, this guy's Mr. EQ, low key, brilliant. Partnership with Shell. Yep. What's the opinion on xenophobia being used politically? How much of an effect would that have on NIO when it enters the U.S. market? Sandy Monroe is American. He went over to China before everything was shut down the last few years. And he saw the Chinese companies and what they were doing in the EV space. And he said that when the Chinese companies come over here, they're going to crush it. They're going to be really well adopted and accepted. And the other thing is, and Seth is my buddy who comes on the streams with me. If you haven't seen him on here, he's 20 years old. And he and his entire generation have grown up with a little thing called TikTok. And that's what they're on. And TikTok is making waves. And for them, it's owned by a Chinese-based company. In 10 years, they're the buyers who are going to be buying whatever vehicles are sold in the US. They're not going to care about buying NIO. In fact, they're going to want to buy NIO if it's cool and they're taking care of the users. And that's the way I see it. And so the political stuff is more noise for me at this point, kind of like a lot of this stuff that's going on, in my opinion. And again, coming back to the free world from prison the last few years, I've just kind of been looking and going, man, it's just a lot of noise, a lot of, posturing and that sort of thing. So what do we got? No point in buying the dip today. Next week, it could lose another 10, 20%. That is just NIO. No step forward and 4 steps backward. And I did talk about how next week might be, the closing point of that window opportunity for the shorts and those who want to push it down. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Jose says, I currently have a pool and with solar panels, been paying $300 this summer in California. It's insane. That's cool. That's awesome. Let's go. Swimming sounds awesome. We'll have to have a pool at our future get-together spot, y'all. Haven't decided where. I kind of like the idea of maybe the Mediterranean or maybe Central South America. I don't know. We got time. There's no rush to decide, but Trav Billy says just swim in cold water. Neo Zero. I'm guessing that's the number of shares you might want, if that's how you feel about it. Red, what's up, Red Edwards? Another early buyer of NIO. I called the NIO ES8 front end upgrade. Can I get a shout out? Yeah, I'm still. What's your take, Red? Did you see the patent on maybe doing a spoiler or something? Curious if you saw about that or have looked into that. Jose says, I do swim in cold water. Just can't imagine how much more it would be to charge an EV. Yeah, true. I know that's a fair point, and it's a wild world. Like I said, it's a strange world I came back to. I'm still not fully adjusted, not well adjusted in some ways. Trav Billy says it's fun to watch everyone have their own opinion. Makes it fun. Yeah, it does. And again, that's kind of this is one of the things I saw that's different. Is it used to be, it was cool for people to have a different opinion. Like they could, and they wouldn't even necessarily argue. They'd just be like, oh, here's what I think. Oh, here's what I think. And that's that. Now it's all like, you got to go in on somebody. You got to attack someone. You got to woo, 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 and I'm just like, whoa, hold on, people. Like, let's just chill out for a minute. Talking about coming back to the world and seeing that, especially the politicking and the narratives and the posturing and that sort of thing. It's like, it's okay to have different opinions. There's nothing wrong with it. It's actually a good thing for people to think differently, gives me an opportunity to think and learn and, approach things in a different way. And whenever the few times we get people who, whatever on here, I'm always just like, whoa, same team, everybody, same team, but yeah, I do. It's, and I'll go and I have gone and watched the videos by some of the people who don't like NIO or who've talked negatively about NIO, because I'm like, all right, maybe I'm missing something. Let me go check this out. I want to see if there's something I have overlooked, not taken into account. Maybe, there's more research I need to do. Haven't found one that's impressed me yet, but maybe they're out there. I don't know. And what else? We'll probably wrap this thing up soon. Chad Billy says EVs are coming. Can disagree or agree. Doesn't matter. If you're not rich, you can't change anything. Agree to disagree, Jose says fair. So we're getting along. Yeah, and again, I think it's different. I think the adoption is different. I think because, again, the way I look at it is business related, but then also regulations related. And so one of the things that makes the U.S. harder to read is you've got city codes and rules, and then you've got county rules, regs, laws, whatever, codes. You've got state, you've got federal, you've got all these layers. The thing that I did federal prison time for is something that a lot of states are okay with. Okay, but the feds said it's not okay. So again, you've got this hierarchy and all these different levels to things, and that makes things more challenging from the standpoint of, let's say full-on EV adoption. There are some states that absolutely will not do the kind of thing that I think 2 states have done so far. California, and then there's one New England state that said that they're going to go to all EVs or something comparable to that in 2035. Some states will absolutely not do that, I don't think, in the U.S. But I think that's one of the things that I've always liked about the U.S. is we're supposed to be free. We're supposed to be able to choose for ourselves and not have the pressure. And if somebody wants to drive a gas guzzler, okay, and if they want an EV, okay. But but it is. It's a crazy world, and it's definitely shifted and changed. Emiliano, market closed on Monday. Yes, market is closed on Monday. I'm going to try and talk to Seth. Maybe we'll try and do a live stream. Maybe we'll try and do something, hype up the shortened trade week. And I'll actually be gone next Friday. I will not be able to do a stream next Friday. I'll have to remind people and let them know, because I know it's going to be hard to finish the week without a stream. But no, I've got another commitment. So anti-gravity propulsion, maybe Elon can figure it out. Elon, oh, Mr. Overhype. I just want to know when the Cybertruck's really going to come out. For real. Like, for real. Shlomo, what's up? Long-term vision, baby. As long as company is doing what it needs to do to grow, I'm holding strong 5+ years easy. Yeah, that's that long-term mentality. And I'm with you. NIO was pushed down to 11 this summer. And it was a summer or spring this last year. And I remember going, all right, Aaron, one question. Are the fundamentals getting better? Yes. All right, then. That's it. That's all I need to know. Chat Billy, I agree. If they keep putting up good numbers, why would you sell? Yeah. And again, there's so many things shorter term that play a role in short-term stock price action for not just NIO, anything and everything. And you see sectors sell off. You see, if a big money player has a position or a basket and a bunch of things, and for whatever reason they have to or decide to sell, well, then there's going to be selling pressure coming from that. It's okay. That's what it is. And that's a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that retail investors don't see and maybe aren't aware of or don't think about. But that's why I'm always trying to study and just kind of familiarize myself with more of those things, because lots of things that have nothing to do with the company fundamentals affect the stock price. So that's short term, good for me to know. Long term, it really just means if there's an opportunity for me to buy or add, then I'm going to try and do that. So, but that's me. No financial advice ever. I'm going to wrap it up. I want to say thank you to everybody. I appreciate y'all for stopping through. And again, I will not be here next week. I don't know if Seth will be around, if he'll be able, or we'll try to do a stream or not. But Jose says, in order to power the EVs, countries will have to go back to building nuclear power plants. Jose, one of the things that I'm really, really curious about is NIO and State Grid have their partnership. State Grid has, they're working on something. Well, they're working on a few things, but they're doing solar panels off of battery swap stations. They also are looking at something that can power back, because one of the things that they want to do is have the battery swap stations able to power the grid so that they can balance out the time frames. And so, for example, and this was interesting, I didn't really get into it earlier, my buddy Nick, when they had some of the power issues in Chengdu this last couple of weeks, he has a home charger, but a lot of people don't. And so he would charge his NIO at home, and then he would take it to the NIO swap station and would do a reverse swap and put in his full battery so that someone else could get it. And then NIO on the app would pay him points, and then he could go and shop on NIO Life and buy something if he wanted. But the idea was, this was what some of the NIO users were doing to help. And again, it's sort of this, the brand and the company takes care of the users, and then the users are naturally more inclined to kind of consider community and helping others and doing, and banding together and sort of kind of like what we do here. We come together and we just sort of, are supportive and positive and encouraging and visit and hang out, except that there's a viable tool and option. And there are things that they're working on over there that are, I believe, going to be solutions. And, I'm not personally, I'm not an advocate of the ESG stuff, but I also recognize that in a country like China, where they've already made the commitment and decision to go in that direction. And part of the reason I think they've done that is that they can catch and then move past other countries by focusing on that, because it's going to take longer and more pivot time for the existing companies like a Ford, like a GM, like the ones here in the US to move into a new direction, whereas they have a younger and more emerging economy and industries over there in China. And so I think it was a kind of dual purpose. Part of it was they felt like that would help them take the lead globally faster. And I think it will. But because they're doing that and going in that direction, that's one of the reasons I'm so curious to watch how this goes, because they really are going to have to be self-sufficient. And so that's sort of why I say, check out the State Grid. I'm going to keep an eye on that partnership with NIO and the Sinopec. So it's just curious, interesting to watch it all. So thanks, Jose. Have a great weekend. And anybody else, questions, comments, thoughts before I wrap it up? NIO is at an infancy stage. Fish says right now, the explosive growth is coming. I agree. And again, that's why stock price action, I'm just kind of like, it's cheaper. I'm getting more excited. So, hey, everybody. Thank you. And have a good weekend. I've got more. I'll be coming out with some videos over the weekend. Daniel, yes, like, comment, subscribe. You know it. Thank you. I'm horrible at this, but at least I'm honest about it. Hey, thanks everybody, and shishay, and we'll see y'all again real soon. Later, y'all.